Gentlemen, welcome to episode 86 of The Clutch Dump. I'm Nicholas Patty, joined by Ben Walther. The Rangers are winning 10-0 right now in Game 4 of the World Series over the Arizona Diamondbacks. We are repping because even though we live in Arizona, you can't take the Texan away from me. So we will always be supporting the home team.
20 years of trying, 20 years.
And Senna sprints away. Banana.
Straight. Rossi's right in behind Lorenzo.
The 101st Indianapolis 500 is won by Takuma Sato. Dale Earnhardt will come to the caution flag to win the Daytona 500.
That all being said, if you have not already, make sure to follow us on Instagram at The Clutch Dump. Follow me on Twitter at NicholasPatty21. If you're listening, feel free to follow and like or rate the episode that you are listening to on various podcasting platforms. We are on all of them. So don't worry, you have your pick of the lot. And then if you're on YouTube, hello, welcome.
Hi.
Feel free to subscribe, like the video, and share with your friends. We had an interesting weekend of motorsports, but I think the most interesting stuff was off track. And I'm sure that the listeners will find out why here soon. But Ben, what would you like to begin with the things that we had doing the things?
The things that we had doing the things. So this episode we are going to cover Formula One at the Mexico City Grand Prix, the Central European Rally for WRC, the Thailand Grand Prix for MotoGP, the Xfinity 500 for NASCAR, the Gold Coast 500 for Australian Supercars.
Why are we covering Xfinity other than Sheldon Creed drama?
I don't know. That's just what I had in my notes for this weekend. Okay. So if I got that wrong, that's my bad.
No,
we're covering NASCAR or not.
I might be stupid, and the NASCAR people are going to hate me. Was Xfinity the sponsor of the race?
I believe so.
I'm an idiot.
Okay. Then we're also going to cover World Superbike at Jerez, not Jerez, as I've said every other time on this podcast.
Yep, Jerez.
I've learned. And we are going to start with that quick opening statement. Congratulations to Alvaro Bautista, who secured his second World Superbike Championship in a row.
Not that anyone didn't see that coming.
Not that anyone didn't see it coming. However, it was still mathematically possible for Toprak to win. I think what had to happen was Toprak had to win both races, or had to win all three races, and Alvaro not finish. Like if Toprak got all the points, he would win. Bautista won the first race, so that didn't happen. So real quick, I'm going to go through your podium for race 1 at Jerez, and it was Alvaro Bautista on the top step, followed by Toprak, Razgat Lioglu, and Andrea Locatelli. His teammate was on the third step. Honorable mentions, Jonathan Rea in 4th, and Danilo Petrucci in 5th. Moving on to race 2, or no, it technically would be the Super Bowl race. Toprak, Razgat Lioglu won, followed by Alvaro Bautista, followed by Jonathan Rea, once again putting that Kawasaki on the podium for his last weekend with Kawasaki, which is still weird to say. End of a dynasty, not just an era, end of a dynasty. It was absolutely nuts.
Honestly,
we'll
end of World Superbike as we know it, because quite frankly, my entire lifetime has been Jonathan Rea dominating on Kawasaki.
Yeah, I mean, 5 championships in a row 6 championships in a row. Nuts. The dude dominated the sport.
Nuts. But in a row?
Yeah.
More nuts.
Yeah, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, and 2020. Nuts. Absolutely insane. Kawasaki built a heck of a bike, and now he's leaving, which I think surprised everyone. But, however, we did go straight into testing today, and we do have video of Jonathan Rea on a Yamaha, and he is smiling, so that's good.
But
either he has money or he...
We have who... Valentino was a rider. Yes. Valentino was a rider, right? Cool. Marco Simoncelli was also a rider. Unfortunately and tragically got killed.
True.
There was a rider who was the next heir to the Italian MotoGP throne before Davi, before Bagnaia. Had a bit of a temper problem, had a bit of a drug problem.
We're just saying maybe this dude had a habit. But
honestly, can you blame him, though? He's a stud. He's a gorgeous... regardless.
More power to him.
His nickname, I believe, is the Maniac, right?
Yes, it is.
The one and only Andrea Iannone is back
Is
on a bike in World Superbike.
back on a bike after 4 years of not being on a bike,
And
is back racing a Ducati.
I was going to say properly so. He's racing a Ducati. So he was testing at Jerez with what looks like, 11 Racing? Or something 11 Racing?
Yeah, I can't remember the name of the team.
In World Superbike. Gangster. Total.
He's not the factory team, for those wondering.
Right.
He's
Only the real ones remember Andrea Iannone. And if you're sitting there and you're like, what's that? You probably watch more MotoGP than I do, but not as long as I have. So
true. I'll say I know Andrea Iannone just because he was there the first year that I watched GP. I barely got in Andrea Iannone live watching.
I might watch World Superbike if Ben will tell me where you watch it. But Iannone is
if Ben finds out where to watch it, he'll let you know.
Okay.
But Andrea Iannone is back. Real quick, your race 2 results. Dominic Egerter in third, Toprak Razgatlioglu in second, and Alvaro Bautista on the top step of the podium for his final race of the season, capping off a fantastic and dominant performance. Here are your standings as follows. Alvaro Bautista, top step of the championship with 628 points. Toprak Razgatlioglu in second for Yamaha with 552. Jonathan Ray quite a ways back with 370 points. Andrea Locatelli in fourth with 327, and Michael Ruben Rinaldi in fifth with 251. I'm not going to run through everyone else because, well, that would take a very long time, and we have many things to discuss today.
Yes.
But yeah, we did get winter testing, or the start of winter testing for World Superbike today. Also, World Superbike winter testing liveries are so good. The Kawasaki livery is so good. It's matte black, like chalk gray and lime green.
Yeah.
I'm so about it. It's so good. The livery that Iannone is riding is so good. It's gray with like fluorescent yellow numbers on it, which looks so good. Tim and I were debating all day how we think Iannone is going to do, and I think he's going to be bad for the first half of the season, and then he'll pick it up. So he looked fast, but I mean, he's dragging knee, and that just looks fast. So, Nick Patty, what would you like to discuss next?
Let's just go ahead and run through some NASCAR, ladies and gentlemen, because this weekend is the NASCAR Championship 4. And there are only, as the name would imply, 4 drivers still alive in that championship. Christopher Bell, representing JGR and Toyota. Ryan Blaney, representing Penske Ford. And then we got 2 Chevys, and they're both Hendrick cars, with Kyle Larson and William Byron, who I'm pulling for to win the championship because we need another number 24 champion in the NASCAR world. But we have them heading into Phoenix. However, this last weekend decided who got in, and it was at Martinsville. So let's go ahead and talk about the results. I'm going to run through all of your results very quickly. We had 3 DNFs, BJ McLeod, JJ Yaley, and Daniel Suarez. 33rd, Brad Keselowski. 32nd, Alex Bowman. 31st, Carson Hocevar on the 42 car. 30th, Justin Haley. 29th, Ryan Newman. 28th, AJ Allmendinger. 27th, Kyle Busch. 26th, Tyler Reddick. Michael McDowell, 25th. Ty Dillon, 24th. Austin Dillon, 23rd. Corey LaJoie, 22nd. Eric Jones, 21st. Ryan Preece, 20th. Ricky Stenhouse Jr., 19th. Ty Gibbs, 18th. Chase Elliott, 17th. Kevin Harvick, 16th. Harrison Burton, 15th. Ross Chastain, 14th. William Byron, 13th. Martin Truex Jr., 12th. Bubba Wallace in 11th, Todd Gilliland in 10th, Austin Cindric in 9th, Christopher Buescher in 8th, Christopher Bell in 7th, Kyle Larson 6th, Joey Logano 5th, Chase Briscoe 4th, Denny Hamlin 3rd, Eric Almirola 2nd, and Ryan Blaney winning the race, which punched his ticket into the Final 4. We have some NASCAR news today, as Bubba Wallace received one of the coolest collabs in NASCAR. Ben, did you see this?
No, I mean probably, but I just didn't pay attention.
So one of the team sponsors for 2311 is Columbia. Columbia is coming out with a Star Wars line. So Bubba Wallace's car is liveried like Luke Skywalker's X-Wing, and he's going as Red 5. And if you didn't see the video, I'll send it to Ben. He shows up with his NASCAR in Mark Hamill's driveway. Mark Hamill comes out and says, "May the Force be with you," with the music playing. Gives Bubba Wallace a Luke Skywalker liveried helmet. And then Bubba Wallace, it is like And so I literally tweeted, I was like, I don't like Bubba Wallace. I don't cheer for Bubba Wallace. I hate Toyota, and I dislike 2311.
But I'm cheering for his car
I'm
today.
cheering for Bubba Wallace just for the championship final in Phoenix. So that's super cool. There was a lot of drama with Sheldon Creed. He didn't win. He finished second at Martinsville. And team boss Richard Childress Racing said he's never seen a bigger idiot on his team in his life.
Oof.
Which prompted people like myself to remind Richard Childress, besides the fact that he looks like a saggy ball sack, that he would be nobody. He would be a broke ex-team owner if it wasn't for Dale Earnhardt and Kevin Harvick. So it's ironic to have Richard Childress, who did nothing really on his own merit,
True.
to talk about idiots he's seen in his career. When I think Richard Childress needs a slice of humble pie, like, hey, your grandson sucks. Oh, wait, your grandsons suck. And you put your grandson in the most iconic car in the history of NASCAR for him to do, before people say, oh, well, he won the Daytona 500. I don't care. I literally do not care. So he's done nothing. Austin Dillon's done nothing. Ty Dillon's done nothing. And there was some drama there. So that's NASCAR for you. What would you like to talk about, Ben?
I'm going to jump into the World Rally Championship, as this past weekend we did have the second to last round at the Central European Rally. However, we did wrap up the championship. I will get to that in a second. First, your rally results. Thierry Neuville was on the top step of the podium after all 18 stages with a total time of 2 hours, 52 minutes, 39.9 seconds, followed by your two-time WRC champion, Kalle Rovanperä for Toyota, with a total time of 2 hours, 53 minutes, 37.5 seconds, meaning that he was just under a minute behind Thierry Neuville. And then Ott Tanak for Ford came in third with a total time of 2 hours, 54 minutes, 32.7 seconds, meaning he was about a minute behind Kalle Rovanperä. Now, I know that Especulappi had a pretty substantial crash early in the weekend
And I got into a Twitter beef with people about it.
On Friday, yet thankfully he's okay. So that was a pretty gnarly crash. Basically, the back end of the car smacked a tree and whipped him around. Bless you.
Thank you.
I'm going to move on to your total championship standings as they sit. Kalle Rovanperä, like I said, is your 2023 World Rally Champion for Toyota. In second is Elfyn Evans, who has not secured second place with 191 points, as Thierry Neuville for Hyundai is in third behind him with 184. Still has a chance to bump up to second. Ott Tanak is in fourth. For Ford with 162, he's pretty much secured there. That's where he's going to stay. He can't jump up into third, and he can't drop down into fifth. Speaking of fifth, Sebastian Ogier for Toyota, 114 points. Especulappi in sixth, and Takemoto Katsuta in seventh, and Daniel Sordo in eighth. That is your WRC. Yes, please.
About rally?
Only if it's positive.
I think so.
Okay, go ahead.
So on this segment of Nick Rants, which I really got to come up with a Nick Nags. How about that one?
That works.
A good segment name. And I just have in my head the "What's Gibby thinking about" stuck in my head.
That's fair.
But I don't know how we could do that with my name. However, there's a little Twitter spat that where I got people to say some mean things about me. But that's okay because I don't care.
That's very easy to do
on our podcast after the fact. So I said, well, the original tweet was a video of a crash, and it was like, wow, spectators standing here are dangerous. They should never do this. We really need more safety in rally and motorsports, blah, 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 blah,
It's
blah.
the only reason rally's still good.
Well, so my original tweet response was, people glorify and idolize Group B, and you never hear someone say, yeah, Group B was great, but, man, we really needed more spectator safety. Like, I've never in my life heard or seen a comment like that.
I mean, that's true. That's why Group B doesn't exist anymore, but...
Well, that's why it doesn't, but you don't see people going out and, like, when they post a photo of a Quattro parting the Red Sea of a crowd, nobody goes like, wow, look at this sick Audi Quattro. Thank God for the advancements in spectator safety. Where
right.
Like, that's
right.
not... That's not something people bring up, as opposed to when people talk about the halo in F1, where it's an old accident in F1, and it's, man, thank God we've made these strides, and now the halo's a part. Like, people make that comment in F1, but not about rally. And so I said, if spectators want to be there, let them.
Sure.
Like,
yeah.
You want to get the shot, but also you may not return to your family? Not my problem.
Yeah,
like, go for it. I don't care.
It's gotten substantially better in that they've just made it harder to get to, basically.
Then I had a lot of people pile on me in the replies.
Okay.
Talking about how stupid I am, about how it would scar the driver if they were to kill someone. Which, let me just reply to that one first. Then build walls. You can't have spectators in rally, period.
True.
Without risking them dying. That's just...
I mean, Colin McRae seemed fine with it, so I'm assuming it's okay.
So, yeah, I mean, an inherent part of spectating rally is the fact that, yes, you could be grievously injured or killed. Secondly,
there's a danger element to it.
Yeah, the whole point of rally is literally, hey, let's chuck a car at 160 miles an hour through some trees. So, it just kind of baffles me where we are...
Safety has yet to reach rally. The cars are great and incredibly safe.
Fantastic.
But, like, outside of that, that's kind of it.
Well, and so the biggest comments were, like, when the videos of rally were posted, the comments were, oh, thank God none of the spectators were hurt. I'm like, are we missing the fact where the driver didn't get hurt? Like, I think that's...
like, this dude whacked a tree at 120 and he's fine. Like,
so
he's
my
fine.
rant against the rally Twitter people is, if spectators would like to risk their life to watch a race, there's something called autonomy.
Go ahead.
Them.
Yep.
It doesn't hurt you. And if the rally drivers say, hey, you know, this whole driving really fast through trees thing maybe isn't for me, then don't race. And before people say, well, we should make all efforts to make the sport safer, where has safety made the sport better? Other than F1. Football, not better. Soccer, not better. Hockey, not better. Basketball, not better. Baseball,
true,
not better. Bowling, no safety.
Bowling, I don't know that bowling counts as a sport. No offense, bowling community, but I don't know.
Like, racing is really the only one where maybe it's made it better. But I would say in extreme cases, because part of, like, an inherent part of racing isn't the physicality of it in terms of contact, abrupt impact. However, in rally, like, part of rally...
I mean, to be fair, to counter that, there is an accident that happened in this past weekend's Mexico Grand Prix that I think if we were in non-current F1 cars, I'm not saying like 60s F1 cars, Magnussen's, but, you know, if we were in like 80s F1 cars, I don't know that he'd be getting away from that one. That one was quite the shunt, which we'll get to.
Yeah, I would say, just last thing on the rally rant, the fundamental principle of rally is let's take cars where they're not supposed to be and go as fast as possible.
Do things they're not meant to do.
Formula One sports car racing is on dedicated paved circuits where there's, by nature of it being a circuit, guardrails, barriers for track limits purposes, for safety purposes.
Yeah, part of road racing is actually bringing the surface to meet the cars,
as opposed to rally where it's let's go into the godforsaken wilderness,
right?
Which is badass. Like, that's why
it's awesome. That's why rally's cool. Right. Yeah.
So anyway, that's my rally rant.
That's Nick's rally rant, and to end off rally, we have Rally Japan, which is one of my favorites because we get the epic tunnel shot. That is November 16th through the 19th, so stay tuned for that, as we are definitely going to touch on that. Gosh dang it, the Diamondbacks scored. Anyway,
can I run through a couple news bits?
Oh, by all means, sir.
So, news bits. This is more of a...
You can stop it now.
Okay. This is more about a fun fact about Kyle Larson that's more Kyle Larson slander. Kyle Larson's DNF at Homestead 2 weeks ago was the 49th DNF of his career. He has passed Kevin Harvick in career DNFs, having raced in 495 fewer races.
495 less.
So I don't know how that's physically possible.
Well,
But
I have no idea.
That's pretty crazy.
That's nuts.
Ben Barnico will be a part of the World Endurance Championship rookie test in Bahrain with Toyota. We have
Yeet.
details on the Mustang Challenge Championship prizes. The Dark Horse champions can choose from one of the following: $40,000 cash or $100,000 scholarship towards a Mustang GT3 or GT4 seat. So this is really cool because this is kind of a mix between regular sports car racing and like Porsche Carrera Cup, where in Carrera Cup, if you win, you more often than not get a seat in a upgraded Porsche car, whether it's GT4 or GT3. Moving on to, that's car news, so we'll save that.
Save that.
We have sports car news. MDK Motorsports and High Class Racing have joined forces, and they will be running in LMP2 in Asian Le Mans Series next year, among others. Enzo Fittipaldi, the younger brother of Pietro Fittipaldi, is set for an IndyCar test with Dale Coyne Racing. That's car news. Eric Almirola is retiring from full-time Cup Series racing in 2024, handing his seat over to Noah Gragson. So that's news after returning from Noah Gregson's suspension. Quick little meme. It said Richard Childress if Dale Earnhardt and Kevin Harvick did not exist, and it's a McDonald's employee. Just throwing that out there. On more serious and sad news, there was an accident on October 28th that claimed the life of Porsche driver Mark Mathis. Details were not completely
unveiled,
and there was a lot of people doing, I think they're overly sensitive. Let's be cautious in the comments. However, here's what we do know. He had a tire issue, and he stepped out of his vehicle on track to inspect the tire. I'm not saying he deserved it. I'm not saying he had it coming, because it is a tragedy. However, general rule of thumb.
Right. There's rules against this.
Don't get out of the car on track. So just saying that. World Endurance debut. A French single-seater racer, Esteban Masson, will make his World Endurance Championship debut this weekend at the 8 Hours of Bahrain for Kessel Racing and GTE. More sports car news. Antonio Felix da Costa is not returning with Jota in the Porsche 960
Saw that.
as he steps away from World Endurance competition. Manti Racing is copying our two-car garage. That's not real, but I'll just throw it out there. Chief Technical Officer Mike Elliott is stepping down from Mercedes AMG Petronas Racing after 11 years. So
today was his last day.
This is an instance in which I think we'll see a staff or faculty change that will lead to on-track noticeable results. Because that is too big of a role to
not make a difference.
And for comparison, Dan Fallows, who is the chief technical officer at Aston Martin, was the chief technical officer at Red Bull. Look at the change his addition has made.
All of a sudden, Aston Martins were good. So,
yeah. Just two more things. Brian Deegan is making his return to Rallycross, contesting rounds 4 and 5 of Nitro Cross in Phoenix, which I will be there because it's at our facility. So that'll be kind of cool. Get behind the scenes. Maybe a photo of Travis Pastrana. Who knows?
Whatever.
So sorry to all the Haley Deegan stands. This is Deegan news that does not revolve around a crappy Truck Series driver.
True.
Staying.
Also, congratulations to Haley Deegan on getting engaged. I think that happened. So.
Okay, simp. Last but not least.
I don't follow her on social media. I think I read a thing.
Last but not least, Mid-Ohio received a full course repave over the course of last month. So,
Dear Coda.
Going to 2024, Mid-Ohio will be less grippy. A lot less grippy. Well, less grippy because it needs rubber laid down, and then it will be grippy.
Right.
Those are our news bits.
Those are our news bits. I'm going to jump into MotoGP real quick as we had the, Thailand GP? Thailand GP this past weekend, and I found it quite good. I'm going to run through your sprint and your race results. Sprint results starting at the bottom. Augusto Fernandez and Fabio Di Giannantonio DNF'd. Fabio Di Giannantonio rumored to unveil possibly a seat at Repsol Honda next year. He's supposed to possibly announce that at next weekend's, or the next race.
Ben!
Taka Nakagami finishing 19th, Maverick Vinales 18th.
Ben.
Yes?
I forgot the biggest piece of news.
Oh dear, go ahead.
Logie Sarge has renewed his contract at Williams for 2024.
Yeah! How could we... Honestly, I forgot how... Yes. Yeah, Logan Sargent. He's going to be there. Woot!
Gah.
Yes, I bought merch for nothing. So Taka Nakagami 19th in the sprint, Maverick Vinales 18th, not a good result from him. Miguel Oliveira 17th, Paul Espargaro 16th, Franco Morbidelli in 15th, Raul Fernandez 14th, Enea Bastianini down in 13th, Joan Mir 12th, Fabio Quartararo in 11th, Jack Miller 10th, Johan Zarco 9th, Alex Marquez 8th in the sprint race, Pecco Bagnaia, your championship leader, in 7th, Marco Bezzecchi in 6th, Alicia Espargaro 5th, Marc Marquez 4th, Luca Marini was on the bottom step of the podium in 3rd, Brad Binder 2nd, and Jorge Martin once again, 5 sprint races in a row winning. Jorge Martin. Moving on to your race results, we had 3 DNFs in the form of Miguel Oliveira, Alex Marquez, and Maverick Vinales. Alex Marquez dumping it all on his lonesome while running in 3rd position. Unfortunate, Alex.
Special.
It's their thing. Paul Espargaro finished in 18th. Augusto Fernandez was 17th. Jack Miller down in 16th position. Raul Fernandez in 15th. Taka Nakagami 14th. Enea Bastianini in 13th once again. Joan Mir 12th once again. Franco Morbidelli in 11th. Johan Zarco in 10th. Fabio Di Giannantonio in 9th. Alicia Espargaro in 8th. Luca Marini 7th. Marc Marquez up to 6th this go around. Fabio Quartararo was up to 5th. Marco Bezzecchi was in 4th. Brad Binder was down to 3rd this time. Pecco Bagnaia made it all the way up to 2nd place. And Jorge Martin once again winning another race. Top side of the podium.
He's on a roll, dude. 13 points behind Pecco.
13 points, your championship standings. As Nick mentioned, Pecco Bagnaia still leads with 389, but 13 points behind him with 376 is Jorge Martin. Marco Bezzecchi is in 3rd with 310 points. That's 66 points behind Jorge Martin. He's pretty secure there as long as he doesn't have any major screw-ups. He should be pretty secure there. Nick, that leaves one thing and one thing only, Formula One. As we did have the Mexico Grand Prix this past weekend, I'm assuming you watched it. Real quick, before we get into Formula One, the actual race itself, what is going on with the rumors about your boy? What is Fernando Alonso doing next year?
Have you been on Twitter to see the rumors, or are you just talking like, oh, because I'm an old man and I read articles and I have the news tab on my Lenovo or Acer computer? I just, like...
No. No, I mean, I saw him on Instagram, but I don't really
Fernando
use
Alonso has been trending on Twitter for the last 48 hours straight.
Yeah.
I have heard from sources I normally trust on Twitter that he's retired.
Yes.
I've
Makes
heard
sense. He's old.
that he's going to Red Bull.
Which makes no sense. He's old.
I've heard nothing's happening. Why is everybody panicking? Which is kind of
Which
where I'm chilling.
makes sense. He's old. That's probably what's happening, by the way.
But I will say this. I think between the two outlandish rumors, the one about him just flat out retiring is more likely than the Red Bull one.
So I think either he's retiring or he's staying at Aston Martin.
Yes.
And the reason why I think he might retire is because I heard a rumor, and it's a very far-fetched rumor. It has no grounds to stand on whatsoever.
Sweet, so moving on.
But I heard a rumor that Lawrence Stroll spent $400 bajillion on this season for the Aston Martin Formula One team, and spent like 7 times the cost cap, and just thought they were going to win everything, and just blew the cost cap, and then was going to sell the team at the end of the season and just put all the cost cap troubles on someone else. So he just brought Fernando to win everything, and then it didn't work. So now Lawrence is going to sell the team, and Fernando's going to retire.
I'm not going to lie. That is the most likely of all
not terribly unreasonable. But there's like 0 sources behind that. It's just something I've read.
So, what was I going to say? There was something about Aston Martin. I don't know. If Fernando retired, I think he'd go do other forms of motorsport. But,
for sure.
Yeah.
Which one hasn't he won yet? He hasn't won the Indy 500?
Correct. That's it. He's
He's
won Daytona, won Le Mans twice, won 2 world championships, won Monaco multiple times.
Yep.
I think if Kyle Larson does well in this Indy 500, Fernando will give it another shot.
Sure, why not? Yeah.
But
If he's old enough to race an F1 car, he's old enough to race an Indy car.
yeah.
So.
Okay. Well,
All right, moving on to your quali results from the Mexico Grand Prix. Logan Sargent at the bottom setting, no time. Lando Norris also having a similar issue in 19th. Lance Stroll in 18th. Kevin Magnussen down in 17th. Esteban Ocon in 16th. Yuki Tsunoda with an engine penalty down in 15th. Alexander Albon in 14th. Fernando Alonso down in 13th. Nico Hulkenberg up in 12th. Pierre Gasly 11th. Zhou Guanyu starting off your top 10. Valtteri Bottas in 9th. George Russell 8th. Oscar Piastri 7th. Lewis Hamilton 6th. Sergio Perez qualifying 5th. Daniel Ricciardo qualifying P4. Attaboy, Danny
you heard us
Rick.
right. He's not on Red Bull yet.
No. In an AlphaTauri, Daniel Ricciardo in 4th. Sergio Perez in 5th. Max Verstappen 3rd. Only one position in front of Daniel Ricciardo in an AlphaTauri. Carlos Sainz in 2nd, and Charles Leclerc equaling Fernando Alonso's pole record in 1st. Moving on to your race results, and, well, sadly we have to start off with quite a shocking start. Sergio Perez, DNF P20.
His fault.
Absolutely his fault. No one's fault.
Although, I just want to say this for the people.
This is for the people.
I have never been so proud and in agreement with a driver that I don't support than Checo. He literally said in the post-race, he's like, it's my home race. I was going to come out in first, or I wasn't going to come out of the corner at all. I had a great start. I gave it everything. It was the most, and I'm not just saying this. Lewis Hamilton, shove it. Max Verstappen, kick rocks. Perez's post-race press conference was the most Ayrton Senna thing I've seen or heard, where if you no longer go for a gap that, or if you go for a gap that if you no longer go for a gap that exists,
You're no longer racing driver. Right.
Checo literally was like, listen, I was going in there and I was only going to come out in first. That was my goal. There was room. I went for it. It didn't work. But you notice he didn't say, I wish I wouldn't have, or, oh, I regretted doing it. He's like, no.
He's just like, yep, that's what it was.
I did it and it didn't work and I own up to it. I was like, hell yeah. Go Checo. Good for you, man. I
will give that to Checo Perez. It was his home Grand Prix. He's under a tremendous amount of pressure. So good on Checo for giving it a try. However,
was his fault.
Bad execution, his fault. So Sergio Perez, P20. Kevin Magnussen having quite the shunt. DNFing. He finished P19. It was a very weird accident. Left rear suspension failure going around a right-hand turn just shot him left straight into a wall. Very scary accident.
The Haas's have a tendency, I think, over other cars to, let me see, break in half. Like, what is it with Haas cars where the differential in the rear axle and the rear wing? Grosjean, Schumacher, Monaco, and then Magnussen here. All three incidents across 3 years. When they have those hard impacts, the car splits in half.
To be fair, they're designed to do that.
But I'm saying, like, other cars that have equally as hard impacts don't do it.
However, I do think this accident is partially Kevin Magnussen's fault.
Because of the front straight off.
Because of the front straight incident, which we saw the lap before as he was coming across the front straight. Basically, you did the entire front straight
off that whole
the track
rally,
on the left side.
Rally conversation we had?
Right. Kevin Magnussen's in the wrong sport. And basically rode the curb the whole length of the front straight, and his left side was in the grass. So that could not have been good for that car. So Kevin Magnussen, P19. Fernando Alonso, 18th. Stroll, 17th. Sadly, Aston Martin, I think, has written off the rest of the season. Very sad for our boy Nick Patty. Logan Sargent, 16th. Was running 12th.
Yeah!
Was running 12th, and then had a hydraulic failure on the second to last lap. Had to retire the car. Valtteri Bottas was your first finisher in 15th. Zhou Guanyu, his teammate, in 14th. Nico Hulkenberg in 13th. Yuki Tsunoda in 12th. Pierre Gasly finishing just outside the points in 11th. Esteban Ocon was 10th, getting that first point. Alex Albon, 2 more points for Williams. Oscar Piastri in 8th, not quite on Norris's form this weekend. Daniel Ricciardo turned a 4th into a 7th, which is extremely impressive considering he was in an AlphaTauri. George Russell in 6th, Lando Norris 5th, Carlos Sainz 4th, Charles Leclerc 3rd, Lewis Hamilton made it up to 2nd, and Max Verstappen, to no one's surprise, P1. We do have a couple talking points Number 1, Sergio Perez. Not only did he have a massive shunt, but he's been under tremendous pressure. So Verstappen now has 251 points more than Perez, who has 240 points more than Nick DeVries.
And the interesting thing is, Max Verstappen is about to be the first driver to ever in the history of the sport have double the points of second place in the World Championship.
Yes.
On top of that, let's discuss Yuki Tsunoda. Because people have been talking about how...
What about Yuki Tsunoda?
Yuki is... So, the question of the second Red Bull seat is between Perez and Ricciardo, but outside of Perez, people that are not in Red Bull right now, the top team, it's between Tsunoda and Ricciardo, right?
Right.
And you could call it Lawson, but I think Lawson was competing more with Ricciardo, not with Tsunoda in terms of positioning. And throughout this year, Christian Horner's been spoken very highly of Tsunoda, and I think this has been Tsunoda's best season. However,
he's done very well.
This weekend, I think, is the most poignant reminder as to why Tsunoda is not ready. And the dogs are about to start barking. Due to his impatience, and then when he pulls off the maneuver, just kind of ignorance, lack of spatial awareness on Piastri.
Lack of experience, mainly.
Which, in its own weekend, would have been of notice, but in the same weekend that Ricciardo returns, and I say returns, he was at Austin, but qualifies extremely well, puts it in the points.
Tons of points.
An extremely standout weekend from Ricciardo. I think is really unfortunate timing for Yuki. But I think it breaks if there was a tie. This will be the reason that Ricciardo is in the running for the second seat and not Yuki against Perez. So,
absolutely couldn't agree more. It was going to be quite a good weekend for one Yuki Tsunoda.
Well, AlphaTauri as a whole, they were about to score double points.
Yeah, AlphaTauri have to have their best weekend in a very long time.
All Japanese man that was like, no.
Was running in 8th at one point, so could have been good points for Tsunoda. Some more things on Sergio Perez on the topic of Red Bull. Sergio Perez has not been on the podium in 5 races, which being in a Red Bull, I think is a problem. And excluding Singapore, where he finished 5th, Max Verstappen hasn't been off the podium since Brazil 2022. So, which, in case you're wondering how good Verstappen is doing, that's 351 days. By the time we get to Brazil,
this weekend,
it will be 1 year. Assuming he's on the podium in Brazil, which is a safe assumption, it will be 1 year where he's only missed the podium once, which is an absolutely ridiculous thing.
Yeah, that's absurd.
An absurd thing to happen. I was listening to another Formula One podcast earlier today, and something they mentioned was, it does happen, okay? I steal notes from other people, it's fine. So, I do it all the time. So, but something they mentioned is, this is the first year that Verstappen has had a truly dominant car, which is terrifying.
I would agree.
Like, last year was much closer between the Ferraris and the Red Bulls. Through almost the entire season, this year Max has had no problem running away with almost every race, which is terrifying looking forward for the next 2 or 3 years, considering that Red Bull lost wind tunnel time for this season. They've already been developing next season's car.
The amount of people on Twitter that were like, wait, you're telling me this entire development has been with the reduced wind tunnel time? Like,
yeah.
Huh?
Yeah, this is the handicapped car. So, something to note is Max Verstappen now has 16 wins. Sergio Perez has 8 podiums this year. So, now, granted, he's second in the championship.
No, there is no granted. You are in the best car. And so, half the amount of podiums that your teammate
has wins.
That is,
and I'd like it noted,
if it was Fernando Alonso, it wouldn't have happened.
Right. So,
I'm not gonna lie to you. People, comment below, call me crazy. If Fernando Alonso was in that second car, we would have a championship battle on our hands. No question.
Probably. It'd be very exciting. Yeah. So, I do wish the best for Sergio Perez. I want to see him do well in the sport. I just don't know that he's cut out for the second Red Bull
Honestly,
seat.
Sergio, get the hell out of the seat. Let somebody else in. Listen. I like Checo. Let's just remind ourselves, Sergio Perez has had a decade in the sport before he was relevant.
True. True. I watched the sport for a long time, and I can't remember anything about Sergio Perez before 2020.
He is only in the Red Bull seat because of Bahrain in the Force India where he won.
Yep.
Keep in mind that took 10 years. 10 years, because I think he started in 10 or 11.
Yep.
Like, not taking anything away from him. But, okay,
No.
a great 21.
Yep.
A good 22.
23 is kind of falling off.
Okay, you got 2 good years out of a decade plus.
Yeah, dude. You've won several Formula One races. That's so much more than so many people can say.
If you're Red Bull, and if the viewers of the podcast, if the listeners comment, leave a rating with the answer to this question. Could Ricciardo do worse?
That's the thing, right? Is you want to put in someone who, like, do you need not worse than Perez, or do you need slightly worse than Verstappen? That's the thing.
If you're Red Bull, don't listen. The only reason Red Bull's in this position is because they had someone as good as Verstappen.
Right.
His name was Daniel Ricciardo, and they didn't get along.
Right.
So if you bring Ricciardo back in, he's at the point in the career he just wants to have a seat, as evidenced by him being in an AlphaTauri. If he didn't just want to be in the sport,
right,
he would have taken it. He just wants to be in the sport, but he wants to be competitive.
Right.
Red Bull would give him a more than competitive car, but he's not going to risk his seat to go toe-to-toe with Max. So if you're Red Bull, Daniel Ricciardo is the ultimate option. Yuki Tsunoda is not as good as Max, but given the opportunity to fight with Max, do you think Yuki's going to back the...
No, yeah, he would take it to him.
No,
for
because
sure.
he still has the peak of his career ahead of him. I think Ricciardo's behind him. He's never getting back to 2017, 2018, 2019 Ricciardo.
Yeah. Sadly. Yeah, sadly. All right, moving on to another driver.
There's more.
Who had a fantastic weekend, Lando Norris, who turned a 19th into a 5th. I do love Lando Norris. I'm a big Norris fan. Lando Norris this weekend.
I don't think it's that special. I'm going to be honest with you.
This weekend, Nick can take his bathrobe and shove it. Lando Norris proved that he is still the number 1 driver at McLaren. While Oscar Piastri is having one of the best rookie seasons of all time, he is still no match for Lando Norris, so well done to Lando.
Texas Rangers double outplay when D-backs had 2 scoring position bases. Woo! Sorry, top of the 7th.
And then,
time.
Nick Patty, it's okay, because this next driver we get to talk bad about, which I know you're always excited about, George Russell. George Russell, I feel like, is having a unspoken trash season.
I disagree.
George Russell is not been anywhere close to Lewis Hamilton the majority of the season.
I wouldn't say the majority. I'd say about half. It's been half for half in terms of head-to-head.
He's currently 8th in the championship to Lewis, who's about to take 2nd in the championship. Which, by the way, we will go through our little standings in a moment. But George Russell, I feel like it's not talked about. I feel like if Lewis was doing as well as Max was, it would be talked about. But George has definitely had some weekends where he has not been on Lewis's pace.
Oh, absolutely. I agree with that.
He had a fantastic season last year.
I would say, let's just remember last year.
George had a fantastic season, so hopefully they can figure out the car and their new CTO can work some magic on the lack of... Or no, they have side pods now, but hopefully the Mercedes gets better next year. Yes.
What about our head-to-head? Because with Aston Martin plummeting, this has got to change. It's got to shake things up. And with Ricciardo scoring points.
Yes, so this does change several things.
God, I hope it's in my favor. If it's not, I don't know if I can bear it.
It's not in my favor. So in the driver's standings, you have 2 points. I have 3.
Okay.
So I am just narrowly ahead there. And the only reason that happened is Kevin Magnussen dropped 1 spot and gave a point away from you to me. So is how that works. So you have 2 points. I have 3.
Okay. So then Constructors
Championship, you have 1 point, I have 3. Now, something to note, last week I had 5, you had 0. So AlphaTauri bumping up to 8th in the championship.
We'll take it.
So I had AlphaTauri last, Haas second to last. You had Haas last. So you gained Haas. I lost both AlphaTauri and Haas. So you have 1 point. I had 3.
So I'm
and
down
then
by
in
3 net.
And then in the rookie roster, you have 1. I have 0. So the points are Nick 4, Ben 6.
2. Wow.
Down by 2. Which I'd like it noted. At one point, you were down by 5.
Yes.
So well done, sir.
Wow.
Well done. I don't know how much more this is going to change up as the season tapers off, as we've only got 4 point scoring events left. A sprint at Interlagos.
Remember, after this season, as soon as it ends, Ben and I, before preseason testing, are going to do 2024 predictions, whatever the preseason podium predictions.
It was preseason testing.
Podcast predictions?
Podcast predictions. I think it was 5 Ps, if I remember correctly, which I probably don't. But yeah, so we have Interlagos not this weekend, but next weekend. That is a sprint
Interlagos
week.
is this weekend.
It is not. It is absolutely not.
It's this weekend.
It is absolutely not. You're a liar. Is it this weekend? Was I wrong? Brazil, November. Oh my gosh, November 5th. It is this weekend. That's so exciting.
We have NASCAR Championship finale, Interlagos, season ending 8 hours of Bahrain with World Endurance Championship. A lot of racing. Got MotoGP.
True. No MotoGP. No
Okay,
MotoGP.
we don't have MotoGP.
That's why I assumed there wasn't Formula One. I assumed no MotoGP. There's nothing else to care about.
Boy.
So
Well, that's it, I think, for me, Ben. Is there...
and that is it for me for episode 86. I did make quite the interesting purchase today, but we'll save that for our automotive episode.
Which is going to be an absolute... I'm just going to say this, ladies and gentlemen. Episode from now, 86 until 100, are going to be some of the best episodes because we got championships concluding. We got purchases that require trailers, weird race cars for the road. There is a lot
going on between now and episode 100. But until then, make sure you follow us on whatever podcast platform you're listening to this on, whether it's Spotify, Stitcher, Apple, Google Podcasts, whatever it is. Make sure you follow us, subscribe, leave a rating and review if you can. It helps us very much. If you're watching this on YouTube, make sure you subscribe, like, and share the video. Comment down below what you think about Nick's rally rant about MotoGP, about NASCAR, about V8 supercars, the season ending, World Superbike, the season ending, how you think Jonathan Ray's going to do on a Yamaha, how Top Rack's going to do on a BMW. A comment if you know who Andrea Iannone is. Make sure you do all that down below. Stay tuned for episode 87. That's going to do it from us here. We'll see you next time.